Hi guys, this is SFX10 speaking. We're a review of the SFX10 steam locomotive sound capsule from TrainTech. Now this is an ingenious little product from TrainTech, as is many of their other products, for enhancing your layout and rolling stock. Now this is an ingenious little product for adding sound at a cost-effective price to any DCC or in fact DC locomotive you have. Now, I'm not the first to review this product. As we know, IC82 has also done an absolutely amazing review of this, and so has Laurie of Calverton. And both have really, praised this product, and it really is an ingenious little device. Now, as well as these sound capsules, TrainTech do a number of other products, including DCC point decoders, DCC signal decoders, lighting for level crossings, track testers, buffer lights, and also lighting for coaches and rolling stock, as well as more sound capsules like this one here, including a diesel locomotive, an electric locomotive, and in fact also rolling stock, which will soon be available. Now, I picked this product up at my local model shop, Signals Models, for what I think is an absolute brilliant price for a sound recording, for £37.30. Inside the packaging is the instruction manual showing you how to operate the sound unit, with also facts and information, and also pointers if there is any issue with your unit. We also have the main three items, which are a small cell battery, a 3-volt battery. We also have this sort of rubber tube, and then we have the sound unit itself. The sound capsule itself is no bigger than a 50p piece and contains a sound recording from a real locomotive. Now that real locomotive is an LNER B12, as preserved on the North Norfolk Railway. TrainTech went there and recorded the locomotive from the footplate, recorded the number of sounds that the locomotive makes while in operation, which have all been included into this little capsule. Now the capsule itself is operated via this little sensor, which contains a little ball bearing. This senses when the capsule moves and starts playing the sound recording. Now the sound recording goes from a pull away with whistle all the way through, building up until the locomotive reaches sort of a cruising speed. Then there's also a short burst of coasting, and then it goes back to another cruising speed again. This also includes things like whistles as well. Then when you bring your model to a halt, the capsule will also sense this and slow the sound down until a stop. Once stopped, the sound recording then plays sort of simmering sound from the engine, so when the engine is stationary, and also includes the shoveling of coal, which I think is a really clever little feature, especially for a little capsule of this size. Now this is all operated power wise via the little battery included in the set, which means there is no extra wires or wiring needed to be done. The rubber tube provided is for amplifying the sound from the unit and simply slots over the speaker. Now this can also be cut to any length or size, so it is easy to fit inside your model. Once added to the capsule, it should look something a bit like this. Now the end of the tube does close a bit, but this can easily be sorted out by adding a matchstick, simply just propping the two ends of the tube open, and this should amplify the sound further. Of course, all that is left to do is add the battery to the unit. Now, as soon as you add the battery to the unit, you add the negative side down, so the negative side is this side here, and that should touch the metal prong here, and the unit should spring to life. There we go. Now, of course, as mentioned, it operates via this sensor. Now, this sensor is active because with me moving the unit around, and as you can hear, we get a lovely sound from the unit of the locomotive sort of building up speed. Now, as mentioned, you've got to drive your locomotive to the unit, so you the unit doesn't operate to the speed your locomotive goes, so you've got to play the sort of drive the locomotive to what you hear, which is a real nice way of doing it. And of course, it means you get a nice smooth pull away, like as you can hear here. And this gradually builds up, and then if I hold the unit still, the speed drops and the engine stops. And then we get obviously simmering noises as well. and you also should get the fireman shoveling coal, but I believe that my pulse in my hands is also setting the unit off. But there we go. Whilst the capsule is static, it plays the recordings of the pump and also the fireman shoveling coal. After a couple of seconds, the capsule automatically switches itself off. Like so. Thanks to the compact size of the whole unit, this is perfect for adding to open wagons, tenders and carriages in 00 and also in N scale. But I have much bigger plans for my unit, as will be seen in a moment. Slight change of scenery now. We're on the living room floor with a small overall of track set up, and in front of us we have a G-scale boxcar and a G-scale locomotive. Now this locomotive is not sound fitted. It's one of the only G-scale locomotives in the fleet that has not got sound, so I thought it would be a great way to test the Train Tech sound unit and whether it is compatible with larger scales than 00 and N scale. One thing that is very easy, especially with G-scale and this unit, is hiding the unit. I mean, you're spoiled for choice of where the unit can go. I mean, there's plenty of room in the locomotive itself. I mean, it could be hidden in the side tanks, on the footplate, but for this video and ease of getting at it, I've hidden inside this boxcar here and I've left the door open. So, without further ado, we're going to turn on the power and see how it performs. So there may be a bit of a jerky pull away. I know that there is a bit of a delay with the sound as to when the locomotive actually is moving, but without further ado, give it a bit more power. And as you can hear, the sound unit has woken up and the loco is now on its way. So there we have it, the Train Tech Sound Unit. I hope you enjoyed this sort of overview of the unit and this sort of interesting but different running session at the end. I thought it would be different to use G scale rather than the 00 or N scale, as there have been many reviews of this unit online by a number of different YouTubers, all of which are absolutely superb. So I thought I'd go down a slightly different route and see if it works on a different scale. Now, from this test, I can safely say that the unit does work in a G-scale locomotive. There are two slight issues though. One, G-scale is a wider gauge, as you know, a much larger gauge in fact, and sometimes the sensor gets confused. As Brunel said when comparing broad gauge to standard gauge, his idea of his broad gauge was it would provide a much smoother ride. And G-scale has sort of proved that compared to 00 scale, as the sensor sometimes gets confused as when the train is moving or when it's not moving. So sometimes the unit would sort of stop halfway even when the locomotive is moving and sort of restart up again. But apart from that, it performed quite well. And once it got going, it kept on going and it sounded really, really good. Another issue I could imagine, especially when out in the garden, is the volume. And, you know, as you heard here, it's a tad quiet, especially when compared to the other sound units, other sound models in G-scale. But I'm going to try and figure out a little way of maybe improving the unit's sound, maybe changing sort of the nozzle on it. Maybe that might amplify the sound a bit. But apart from that, it's a cost-effective way of adding sound to, really, as proven, any locomotive in really any scale. So I hope you enjoyed this little review-overview and this interesting end. But yeah, so I highly recommend that unit. And it really does. It's a really great and affordable way of adding sound to really any of your locomotives. So I must highly recommend it. Anyway, this has been SDJR 7F88 speaking, and thanks for watching.